In essence, what it is just a full-scale drawing.
Well, Brian Bayless did the lug.
Okay.
Mark Novelette did the top lug.
Here we go. We're just getting her ready. We're getting her cleaned up. We have to make it look presentable. We're going to just clean it as best we can. This is going to be in Jeffrey Bach's booth, which is cool. He's going to have 2 green bikes there. I'm pretty excited. So I'm just going to get this ready and throw her in the car. Hey guys, I'm going to head over to Niles, Michigan to pick up my roommate, and it's a special one. So I'm really excited. Come along for the ride. We are pulling up to the shop of Dougfattic. Call him the bicycle frame building professor. Can't wait to get in there and see what he's got going. Hey guys, thanks so much for joining us on the channel. We are with Dougfattic at his shop here in Niles, Michigan, and you're gonna learn about what he's doing. I like to call him the frame building professor. Why? You're gonna learn, so stick with us. So what got you into frame building?
So I was a high school teacher when I decided that I wanted to learn the mystery of how to build frames. Before 1970, before the bike boom of 1970, custom bikes just weren't a thing in America.
Right.
And suddenly it just exploded. But all the guys that had built frames after the World War I and for the 6-day races, they had all died or retired or something.
Right.
So the knowledge was lost, so we had to go over to Europe to learn how to do it. As a high school teacher, I had summers off. And I filled out a notebook with every address that I could find out of who built frames. And I had a Brit Rail pass, which is like a year rail pass.
Right, right.
And I could go visit 3 or 4 frame builders a day.
Wow.
And I was trying to find some place that I thought was not only a good place to learn, but also that would accept me being a student too.
Right, right.
So in the summers of 73 and 74, I spent a month traveling around England. By chance, I went to Johnny Berry's shop in Manchester, England, and he told me a story about an American guy that had come over, and he was a young guy, 19 years old, and wasted his time. He had given him this wonderful opportunity to learn how to build frames, and the guy was kind of a partier and didn't take things seriously.
Right.
And Johnny was still steamed about it. It's kind of like, you know, I gave this guy a great opportunity. And Johnny built the most beautiful fancy lug bike I've ever seen. And so when I got back to the States, I spent a whole week writing a letter to him.
You couldn't email him? Why didn't you just email him?
Yeah.
Or text him, you know?
Yeah, right. This would have been 1974.
Morse code.
Exactly.
Sorry.
So I sent the letter and I didn't hear from anything. And then my second choice was Ellis Briggs. And I went there just by random chance. There was a spur rail from Bradford to Shipley where Ellis Briggs was that was only like 2 or 3 miles or whatever. And if that little spur rail hadn't existed, I wouldn't have ever known about Ellis Briggs.
Oh, no kidding.
The next year in 75 when I went there to learn how to build bikes, that rail was gone. So I was that close to now learning how to build bikes.
Oh, no
kidding.
kidding.
And so most people were gone, and the guy that was the proprietor of the pro racing part showed me around the shop, and I could easily see that they were more advanced in the way that they built bikes than the other places that I had visited. They had a fixture that was based on a cast iron table. They just had a lot of things that said, oh, this is just top-rate place. So I wrote this letter to Johnny Berry, and I didn't hear anything back a month or so, so I thought, well, I better double my chances. So I edited the letter, and I sent a letter off to Ellis Briggs, and I didn't hear anything from either one of them.
Yeah, they have no idea what your motives are, who you are, what, you know, how serious you are, that kind of thing.
Right. So I figured that if I was really supposed to learn how to build frames, I would eventually get an answer. And I did. It's kind of like, I got 2 letters on the same day. One from Mrs. Berry saying she was sorry, but Johnny had died.
Bad news.
So if she had answered earlier, or if they had answered earlier, I would have lost the chance to go over there.
Sure.
And then Mrs. Briggs wrote and said, who was really kind of the boss of the whole thing, sure, come on over.
Hey guys, I want to invite you to an event. It's called Classic Bicycles Auburn. It's going to take place June 12th through the 14th. It's a lot of fun. I've been there before 2 years ago. Wow, you're going to meet some cool people there. Richard Schwinn, Jim Mers. If you don't know who that is, look him up. Also, you're going to see some of the coolest bikes. You can bring your own. You got to register online at Classicbicyclesauburn.com. I'll put the link in the description below. Hey, there's going to be a bike swap there. Also, maybe a couple unofficial bike rides that you can join me on. It should be a lot of fun. Hope to see you there.
Okay, so Dougfattic inspired me because around about 2015, he was at the Philly Bike Expo and he gave a demonstration on how to cut lugs. And I was smitten. I thought, wow, that's something I could do, and further, I could contribute to my nephew Brian's bike business. And that began a whole process of learning lug cutting, and now I have graduated to a very competent level, and you can see it in my work.
I would agree.
That is on display today.
Awesome.
And it's all thanks to Dougfattic.
Well, great. Thanks for sharing that with me.
You're very welcome.
So you were at Alice Briggs for a summer?
Yeah, for a summer.
For a
So I
summer.
went over on Memorial Day and came back on Labor Day.
Okay. Did you have any foreknowledge before getting there? Did you have an idea how it all worked, or you just like
No.
start from absolute scratch?
Well, I did start from absolute scratch because I did take an adult education class on, oxyacetylene welding and brazing. And
Okay,
stuff like
gotcha.
that, which kind of taught me how to turn the tanks on and off, but it wasn't really terrible.
But what inspired you to do it anyways? Why did you want to build a frame? There's other frame builders out there. Well, there wasn't a lot.
Well, there wasn't.
Not
Yeah.
around here.
There weren't frame builders at that time. So
Yeah.
now we've learned about each other later. But I didn't know that like Richard Sachs and Peter Weigel had gone over to England at the time. It was a mystery that needed to be solved. And also my philosophy of education, because I'm an educated, was the fact that people should balance their lives not only with book training, but with manual training, working with your hands, that kind of thing.
Sure,
Yeah.
total sense.
And then also just good health, by riding your bike and eating properly and things like that. You become a better person. So that was part of my philosophy, that I could go over there, I could learn how to build frames, and I could teach people back here in the States because people didn't know how to do it here.
How long were you building bikes in your own name?
Well, I came back in the fall of 1975 and I built bikes under my own name ever since then.
Gotcha. Now are you still building for the public?
No, I quit building frames for the public about 20 years ago when I increased my workload for doing classes.
So mainly for the last 20 years you've been doing classes.
And I occasionally paint bikes too. And one of the advantages of going to Alice Briggs is that they were painters there as well. And so I could learn all the principles of painting, although I didn't do any painting myself.
Last year when we were in Philly, you shared with me all the steps that go into painting. I'd like to probably do a separate video on that. Guys are just fascinated. If you think you just take a frame, clean it off, sand it off, and just throw paint on it, you're mistaken. And I learned a lot. So we're probably gonna do a separate video on that, maybe in the car on the way there. We're gonna have 10 hours in the car heading to Philly. We're going to the Philly Bike Expo. This is my roommate for the next 4 nights. And if we're still friends, we'll do other videos.
We better do it on the way there, because on the way back.
We might not be talking on the way back. I don't know.
Sure. Hello, my name's Noah Wonger, and I learned how to build bikes from Dougfattic in 2013. Doug changed my life because now I'm continuing to build bikes. I'm holding a photo here of the bike I built with Doug. He showed me how to carve lugs, and that was exactly what I was looking for at the time.
That is so cool. How was the class?
The class was great. My favorite quote from Doug is, "Determination is the only skill you need." So just keep building, keep going for it.
That's great. Hey, thanks for sharing that.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, Doug.
So what made your bicycles different?
Well, we need to understand that American frame builders build a different type of bike than our European builders.
Mm-hmm.
In England, the average worker made a very poor wage. And when I went over to England, with a master's degree in teaching, I made $8,000 a year, and I was vastly richer than my friends at Alice Briggs.
Gotcha.
And so they had to price a bike in the neighborhood of $100 to $200 a frame, and that meant that they had to make them very quickly and not fuss with details, because if they did, there'd be no profit margin.
Of course.
We're building to a different market here. We're building to a more affluent person whose probably upper middle class kind of person. So we could spend a lot more time doing the little detailing work, like filing the lugs and shaping the joints so that the bikes could look better. And this was essential when we first got back, because people would say, well, I can buy a Colnago or I can buy a Bob Jackson, it only costs me this much money. And then I would say, that's true, but I have to show you that I do a better job. So I'll show you my thin lugs. I'll show you my carefully filed joints. I'll have you look inside the bottom bracket shell where you can see the mitering is carefully done. Not quickly hand mitered, but use a machine to miter the tube.
Gotcha. So you had to show your quality by its finish.
That's correct.
So when someone says they want a bike from you, what's the first thing you do?
Well, I discovered that I can't just take body measurements and convert a body measurement into a frame design. It's kind of like two people with very similar measurements can position themselves on a bike in a different way. And it's not overly complicated, but what I use is one of my fitting bikes, and I set somebody up on that. And typically the person that's buying a steel custom bike, even if they're younger, who is just an urban rider, or if it's older, they're more concerned with comfort than they are performance. And so I try to find the balance point of where they are over the pedals. The first thing you do is get the saddle height, which almost everybody knows what that is.
Right,
or
right.
close to it then. And then we start bringing the saddle back. And it's almost like magical, where as I'm bringing the saddle back, I'll ask them how much effort is on their upper body to hold their position, or how much weight is on their hands. And at some point, as they keep scooting back, they'll say, oh, I don't have to strain to hold my body.
It's like a balance point.
Yeah.
That makes
And
total
that's
sense.
usually a shallower angle than what most bikes typically are. So then the next thing that I do is I try to find out where their handlebar position is, and I just do that by feedback. It's like looking at an eye chart at an ophthalmologist.
Sure.
And you raise it and scoot it back and forth until they say, yeah, that feels right. And my experience has been that most people know within a centimeter of what is comfortable. A half centimeter, no, but a centimeter is kind of like, yeah, that feels right. Or no, I feel too stretched out. Or no, I'm too cramped up.
Sure.
Now, what I do is I take that bicycle position, the saddle height, the saddle setback, and I put it in my frame fixture here. And in my frame fixture, I have accessories, bells and whistles, to tell me where my saddle should be in relationship to the bottom bracket. And this device here, so for example, I might discover that I need to be 10 millimeters. The nose of my saddle needs to be 10 millimeters back, so I set this thing here. And then I put the saddle that I'm going to use and the seat post I'm going to use, and I keep sliding the angle back, the seat angle back, until the nose just matches this thing here, and then that becomes my seat angle.
That's really interesting. This is a cool jig. Did you make this yourself?
Yeah, well, this design came from F.W. Evans in England, and most of British builders use this instead of doing a full-scale drawing. In essence, what it is just a full-scale drawing.
Gotcha.
And so one of the characteristics of this is the fact that you don't want to have an ugly amount of stem or stackers above the thing. It just doesn't look like it's a custom made. It looks
course.
like you've adapted it.
Exactly.
So what I need to know is what the straddle height is of a person. So this feature of my fixture here allows me to set what tube diameter I'm using, and then what wheel radius I have going to use, and then I can move the top tube up and down until this is just barely missing your crotch.
That is innovative and scientific all at the same time. That is just beautiful.
And then, of course, it has, my head angle is here. And the head angle is usually determined by trying to get the proper front wheel clearance here. By spinning these hex pieces here, I can establish what my fork rig is going to be. So this little piece here represents the center of my front wheel. So I add 25 and 24. So that means that right now my fork rake is 49 millimeters. I have the same little device under here too, these little hex pieces that I can spin. And this unit here will tell me what my bottom bracket drop is.
Wow. That's innovative.
And then also it's kind of like I don't have to use rulers. I can just measure it off of here. So This is all etched, so this is now at 55.2 millimeters.
That
the
is-
seat tube length.
That is cool. And I see you have a bunch of them here. I assume that's for your school.
Yes, that's right. So I usually teach 1 or 2 students at a time because I just want to maximize my training.
So what type of person takes your class?
Well, they tend to fall into 2 general categories: engineers or people from an art background.
Okay.
And then the third type of person is somebody that works at a bike store and they just want to, extend their knowledge.
Well, you know what? I tell you, in my comments section, people talk about this being a bucket list item for them if they're, a cyclist. And wow, what an experience that would be, being taught by the master and also being able to build your own bike. That is pretty cool.
I have 2 types of students. The first type are those that want to make more bikes in the future.
Okay.
And so I train them a little bit differently, and we go through more practice steps before they go on. There are some people that just want to be involved in the process.
Sure.
But they don't necessarily want to make another bike.
Okay.
So I'll do some of the
Interesting.
hardest parts so they don't have to master it in order to raise the seat tube to the bottom bracket shelf or something.
Makes sense. I get that.
Right.
Well, that's pretty cool. And you're still doing that today. How long are the classes?
My classes run 3 weeks, and the reason that they go for 3 weeks is because I've discovered that it just takes a certain amount of time for somebody to catch on to what's going.
Sure.
There's an overwhelming amount of material that's presented.
Now, if they're here, where do they stay?
My parents have passed, and I use the house next door.
Oh, okay.
You know.
Gotcha. So you got room and board involved?
Yeah, well,
Not
room
bored.
anyway.
Dougfattic does the nicest hand-cut lugs I've ever seen. I mean, I've been building for about 50 years, and I've heard lots of people go on and on about Hetchins hand-cut lugs, curly stuff. The thing is, if they'd ever seen a Dougfattic bike with the hand-cut lugs, they would stop talking about Hetchins. Doug apprenticed in England, and he got to know a builder there named Johnny Berry that almost nobody's ever heard of. Doug learned a lot, or was inspired by some of Johnny Berry's work, and but even today. You come to shows like this, and you look around, and there's some people doing some fancy lugs, and I don't think any of them hold a candle to Doug's work.
Show me a couple bikes.
I made this bike in 1980, and it's typical of the kind of work I did at the time.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing I do is I take Chinelli lugs, which are pretty crude. And let me just grab a lug over here so you can see what I'm talking about. They start out like this. Actually, this one looks better than some of them. And then I have to carefully shape the edges, and then I braze it, and then I cut out something here. And for a long time, I like to cut out people's initials.
Okay.
And this guy's name was Terry Powell.
All right.
So I joined his 2 letters together to BTP. And if you
Awesome.
look under here.
All right, you put it in the bottom bracket as well. That is sharp.
Right. That saved at least 2 grams.
On a what looks to be a 65 centimeter frame, that goes a long
Right,
way.
and one of the reasons that bikes were bigger back then is because Campagnolo and Shimano seat posts were short. And so we couldn't have the long mountain bike seat posts and have sloping tubes. We had to have the frame be big enough to support a fairly short seat post.
And this is from what, 1980?
1980. Yeah.
Gotcha. Wow, you got some unique product in here too. You got some Adolo brakes. That's not something you see.
Yeah,
every
he
day.
took the camping ones off and he put these on, and I said, "Well, they don't stop you." And he says, "Well, I don't want to slow down. I want to go as fast as I can."
This is a beautiful
Also, this
bike.
is kind of typical too. I always liked this kind of fastback, and that came from both Bill Hurlow and Hetchins. They did that kind of fastback attachment. It was one that I liked.
Gorgeous too. Nicely done. Very smooth.
And this was black chrome on there.
This is black chrome.
Yeah.
Look at this, guys. They keep you from using a state protector.
He took this one to Ironman Hawaii, and he said he came off 5th on the bike with this thing.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
So he
he
raced
said he
this
wasn't
thing.
used to the heat of Hawaii, so he said he ended up 17th, is what I recall.
Wow. Beautiful bike.
That's typical of the bike that I made in that era.
Hey, Jacob, I know you're looking at this. I don't think it's for sale. That's cool. Well, thanks for showing me that. So why'd you build this frame?
So I built this frame as part of a contest that Shimano and Bicycling Magazine did together. And not only was there a $3,000 prize, but also we assumed, all of us frame builders assumed, that there'd be a big 2-page spread in the magazine that would really promote and highlight what we were doing.
Sure.
But I took a chance. I always wanted to make myself a really nice fancy lug bike, and I took a chance on it because Sante is kind of like clean and plain, and this is Baroque, and you know.
And what was the contest?
So what you were supposed to do was send in pictures of your bike, and then the editors of Bicycling magazine would select 10 that they thought would be the best candidates.
So the idea was you had this fashionable group coming out, and they wanted frames that would break out, you know, make that group look gorgeous.
Right.
And so this frame here, you know, just amazing, would do that. Now this was the original color. You said white and turquoise.
I had these spaces in between here, a candy color, different candy color.
Oh, okay, like a stained glass window.
Like a stained glass window.
Gosh, that's amazing.
Right.
Well, that's cool. So
But when it was all done and I put the clear coat over the whole thing, I said, this doesn't work, you know. So in this case, what I wanted to do was have internal routing, but I don't want to have just a hole there. I want a little brass tube
sure.
that allows the cable to exit easily here.
Wow, and it comes out the stay.
So I had to drill a hole where the stay attaches and put the brass tube through there and braze it here. So
That's really interesting, really stealthy. That's sharp. So you never submitted this?
I sent the pictures in, but
You
it
did.
never achieved the... However, all was not lost because Shimano had a Shimano showcase for bikes in 2001.
Mm-hmm.
And this bike actually won the Shimano showcase.
Oh, really cool.
So it eventually, you know, worked out pretty well.
Well, thanks for showing me that. Check out this Condor sitting here, guys. This is beautiful. This is, you got the superb lugs on there. Just gorgeous. It's like a gold plating, but it's probably an anodization. Really sharp. Looks like Doug made an aero frame. Guys, this frame's kind of locked in. I can't bring it down, but check this out. Beautiful lug design. This is that Berry frame. Yeah, I could see why he wanted to be under his tutelage. Just gorgeous. Guys, I want to show you one of Doug's personal bikes. Want to tell me about this one?
Now, this is a bike I made when I was about my middle 40s to see if I could still stay with the big boys. And so I did several things. I made it out of light tubing, of course.
What's your preference for tubing?
I like light tubing. You know, before Jan Hein ever did his light tubing thing, I always liked it. Under certain circumstances, it kind of depends on the rider.
Sure. Is that?
This is
Excuse my
0.7,
ignorance.
0.4, 0.7 wall thickness.
Is there a brand or no?
No, I don't care about the brand. It's just the wall thickness that you look at.
Okay. So you're not big into Reynolds or Columbus as long as it's your lighter gauge tubing and
Right, and where the butts are located and that kind of thing.
Sure. Okay, so for your own bike you went with the triple triangle here.
I did, because I was making this bike as a show bike for Henry James lugs made by Hank Fulson. And I wanted to show off his seat lug here without attachments coming into it. So that's why I did a triple triangle.
Gotcha. Okay, and you got the 650B wheel or 650 wheels.
650C
right.
tubular wheels. Yeah, because they spin a little faster, and also, more importantly, it's like when I'm in a training ride and I can sit a little closer to the guy in front of me. And the only way that I could really stay with the big boys is if I'm really tucked in.
The sucking wheel.
Yeah, and they never made me go
Me
to the
too.
front to pull. You know.
Me too.
And so that gave me the double advantage, a lighter wheel as well as smaller wheel allows me to sit closer to the guy in front of me.
Okay. I just picked up a similar group to this from Seth at Golden Velo, just because I wanted a silver campy group. That's so hard to find nowadays.
I know.
Wow, this is sharp.
Right.
Hey, can you show me that Tesla that's in there?
Yeah. Well, this is a bike that Don Walker of NABS used as a raffle to raise money for childhood diabetes. And he had a daughter, Tessa, who had childhood diabetes. And so there was 10 American frame builders that had been building for at least 30 years. that put the whole thing together. Well, Brian Bayless did the lug.
Okay.
Mark Novelette did the top lug.
All right.
Richard Sachs did the seat lug. J.P. Weigel did the bottom bracket shell. Tom Kellogg did the fork crown. Bruce Gordon did the dropout junctions.
Wow. So
Roland Delasana brazed the frame together. I put the braze-ons on and I painted.
wow. That is just amazing.
Yeah.
That's something you're never going to see again.
So it's kind of neat that Bill White, who was an amateur frame builder, won the raffle because he had already contributed to childhood diabetes as a charity.
Sure.
And then when he passed away, the executor of his will passed it on to me because I teach students, and this is a way that my students could see the work of famous American frame builders.
No doubt. That is so cool. Check this out, guys. Has written, basically whoever did one on this frame is written on the seat tube.
And Don Walker liked the Hetchins style of lettering.
Sure.
And so then this seat tube arrangement, where it's the rings, half-inch rings above a center post, is kind of a Hetchins style of paint job. So.
Gotcha. Well, that's beautiful.
And then I could put each person's name,
And
in
you,
the thing.
and you did all the paint work.
I did all paint.
Well, that's awesome.
And put the braze-ons on.
Hey, Doug, we got to get rolling,
Hey,
man.
John.
We're going to go to Philly. We got to go to Philly. All right. Hey guys, thanks so much for joining us today. If you would, please leave a comment or a question for Doug in the comments section. If you have any questions, we'll make sure I get those questions to him. Also, too, if you want to learn more about his class, how do they get a hold of you?
Usually people just email me, Dougfattic at gmail.com.
Excellent. I'll put that down in the description below so you have a record of that. So, hey, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next video.